so we're against an FDR. I don't remember how well we're able to bully this FDR, but we've got 2 battleships on each side that we can check out. And if I get busy doing something, if I get, just like forcibly wrenched over to a flank and I can't protect battleships, then the FDR just gets let loose and starts beating on shit like I always think of the FDR like it's a sledgehammer. So if you can think of like a teenager using a sledgehammer to slam into cars, it just feels like an FDR being let loose is like some kid just beating the shit out of cars in a parking lot. Okay, so we're gonna give this some time. We latched onto his rockets, he recalled. All right, so we've got 2 cruisers going up to Charlie. We have a single DD. No way in hell we take Charlie. Yoshino is spotted from space, and Salem can't risk being in Charlie, especially not when a CV could spot him. So this is going to be a holding action. There's no way that they take. Holland, Stalin, Burgoyne, Conqueror, all of these people going to B. Cool. Okay, so realistically, this looks like this is a push. They're going to grab B and somehow push through to take A while we've got a holding action at Charlie. Still kind of looking over here, we see a Petro Thunderer, but mostly when I'm against an FDR, I do tend to play against the CV's planes, try to keep them constrained. So you're not going to see me make a lot of strikes. Mostly I'm going to be stopping the FDR from having a way in. I'm going to try to be stopping the teenager with the sledgehammer before they get in the parking lot. But we have at least a better idea. There's a Minotaur and a Thunderer. Okay, so using the stuff that we were saying before, Salem, AA wall, Petro, AA wall. If we wanted to go for the Thunderer, we'd have to go in that direction because we'd have to use the rock to block the Petro so that we could go in, and we'd only get 1 shot because the Petro and the Salem are going to cover the Thunderer. So not a lot to be gained there. Minotaur, Thunderer. If we want to fly to the Thunderer, we can bomb from this line, but we're going to get hurt by the Minotaur. Or we can again go all the way up the center and cut around to get to the Minnow. Now I could use my CV and move it over here. I might end up getting spotted and shelled though. So because they're Thunderers and they breach the deck of the Midway, I have to play back. So this is a problem for me. I might be able to maybe go wide and see if there's something I can see from this angle, but at the moment we're just kind of brawling with the FDR for airspace. And if we look at this, already our Conqueror, who's back here, not from CVs, is already down half health. So maybe the Conqueror kind of did a gamer turn and got clocked by the Thunderer at range or something, and the Burgoyne is diving for island cover. Again, I don't know why. I don't think the enemy CV's been able to do a damn thing so far. But now the enemy CV is going to, because this AA cover, it's been breached. Now he's gone around. Holland is not, I guess, on these planes. Holland is like continuing to go wide for some reason, maybe for torp angles. So rather than plugging this gap, the AA defense net has been broken. And these bombs, all of them, that's 13 bombs, are going to be able to live on top of this Conqueror that does not have great AA. Wham, 20,000. Wham, 20,000. Wham, 20,000. It's gated, so it can only bomb every 30 seconds, but basically our defense net broke. One of our
All forces, provide cover for
things went down. So we're gonna come over here and drop a fighter. So this FDR gets 1 drop, and it's either, well, I can recall or I can stay and lose 7 planes. FDR could eat the 7 plane losses and try to strike the Conqueror a second time. Bam, Conqueror's down to 29, but it is a Conqueror, so the Conqueror has healing. And at this point, it's like, there's got to be a way in somewhere. Because if we look at the map, the Salem Yoshino never take C. Ever. They can't. It's not possible. So nothing happens here. Stalin and Burgoyne are hiding behind this rock. Nothing is happening here. Conqueror is getting savaged. We're losing health, but not taking or being able to take any form of map contest. Holland is not a brawling DD. It loses to a Haragumo, so he's just trying to torp. And we've got Holland AA, Stalin AA, and we got this nice big hole in the middle that the FDR can cut through to go directly to the Conqueror. And because the Haragumo fell back to a Minotaur Thunderer, we've got all the AA in the world stopping us from living on top of this, trying to either spot him or hurt him or whatever. It rushes the shot, and the shot results in fuck all nothing. Okay, these guys are overtaking C. Once again, this was never about stopping C or taking it. It might be about getting some resets or something. And with these guys all on top of the same grid square, our Stalin charged forward to get murdered. Congratulations, he died a hero. So we can try to do something at Charlie, maybe help them get resets, because this death ball, there's nothing that's going to happen there. And we are able to drop on the Petro. I think he takes a bunch of torps, but they take C. Yoshino's kind of going to pull off to the side here and present some kind of crossfire threat, which hopefully keeps these people contained so they can't just swing over and collapse. And here we see the enemy CV is lighting the Holland for all three of these ships. Holland is going to do some significant plane damage, but it's going to take time. And if the FDR stays inside the flak range, it's going to do a lot of damage, but it's going to take time. And it's not going to be like AoE with flak, it's just going to be drilling through with continuous. So this Holland is probably going to be harassed by all three of these. Burgoyne doesn't have a shot on anything, maybe on the Petro. Conqueror has tried to bail. He lost some health, but he was able to heal it. These guys are split. Realistically, the FDR could ignore the Holland and just come over and beat the shit out of the Burgoyne. Be a little harder to deal with the Conqueror, I guess, but the Burgoyne is extremely exposed if he wants to bomb or torp it. And if he wanted to go after the Yoshino Salem, these are maneuverable, so FDR's not going to get great damage, but they're super isolated. Am I going to have to run and fight each and every one of these people? They're in the middle of nowhere. Cool, some hits into the Petro. Holland did live, although he took a bite out of the planes, it looks like. And torps coming in for the Conqueror. Burgoyne got hit by something. Cool, Petro goes down.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
What do we bow tank, the Thunderer or this Thunderer? So all we can do is reverse. And if it comes down to... Okay, so there was a conversation on the forum, can AA prevent a strike? Typically what people mean when they say, can AA prevent a strike means, can I turn on my AA and stop myself from being hit? I understand that definition, but realistically the way the game is made, the answer is no. You know, flak might hit the planes, defensive fire might erase some shit, you could be lucky, but in general, no single ship, by anything that I've seen, is going to be built with an AA suite so powerful as to evaporate planes and make itself untouchable. It's just not going to happen. Just like there's going to be no ship that's covered in 700mm armor. It's just not going to happen. Well, it's vulnerable to torps. Yeah. So, does AA prevent a strike? Is there a chance in hell we can strike this Thunderer? No. Is there a chance we can strike this Thunderer? Yes. AA prevented me from being able to look at this as a viable target. Therefore, I must look at the Thunderer or the Salem as a different target. This prevented the strike. So if you're positioning in a situation where you're like, man, I really don't want to get hurt, if you can find a situation where you have a single AA buddy, I'm not so worried about the Haragumo, but the Thunderer on top of a Minotaur I am. If you have a single AA buddy, it can drastically change the calculation and make it so that the CV looks at you as a low priority because they might not be able to do anything. That being said, if this is the difference between winning or losing, or winning or losing, and you have to throw every single plane you have into this clusterfuck and watch everybody die, it's what you got to do. Because winning the game is sometimes like that. The enemy can force you to make hard choices. This would be a hard choice. But there's a Thunderer, and if we can get this off of our ass, then we can bow in toward the incoming shells rather than being pinched where we've got shell fire coming in from two directions. So the Thunderer is what now must be dealt with. Salem has no assistance here. There's no fighters on the Thunderer. I think he's about to get a fighter, which he does. We have 7 planes, so we can drop and actually linger to let the fighter kill some of our planes to burn the fighter and then come back and try to stay on this Thunderer, because I just can't do anything against that. Good news, Salem goes down to the Yoshino.
Teammate, I need your support.
We have a way in on this. We do. Pulls forward. Might get 2 torps, maybe 3. 2 torps. He's dead.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
So, this is where it comes down to. I could light the FDR, and maybe the Yoshino Salem can somehow kill it, and just be like, I'm dead. There's nothing I can do. I'm dead. Or I could try vainly to attempt to do something against this. Maybe spotting the FDR would be the better choice.
White anti-aircraft fire support.
Because if we got the FDR, that's going to be a carrier hull's worth of points, and we'd at least have a cap, as opposed to having no caps. But, I don't see a win in this situation. Outside of somebody, like, coming back and getting a kill here. Like, if the Yoshino came back and clapped the Minotaur, well, maybe I'd have a way in on the Thunderer. But as it is, any damage I do to the Thunderer, and I could actually be wrong here, the Minotaur might have better healing than the Thunderer does. I don't think that's the case, because the Thunderer has more raw health, and I would assume bigger heals. That if I strike the Thunderer, that would be the worst target of the two. So I'm hitting the Minnow. I'm gonna hemorrhage planes doing it. But the other thing is I could try to get to the Haragumo, but I'd have to fly all the way around this to come over to strike the Haragumo. And obviously at this particular point, we don't have much time. So we're just losing a lot of planes. Long story short, we don't live, or we don't win this. I think that's pretty plain.
The enemy team has taken the lead.
The Minotaur has a normal heal? I assumed it had a strong heal. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it was interesting to kind of go through those. Just on the one hand, you can see the decision making that I'm doing in my CV, but you can also see what makes a target into a valid target versus what makes a target into an invalid target. And those battleships, when they had some kind of cover, when they had that Minotaur in front of them, or Smolensk in front of them, or something, when they had some kind of buffer between me and that battleship, you start having to get creative. What are the lines in on this? Now, realistically, if the FDR wants to get to you, the FDR bypassed and went to the Conqueror. The only reason he didn't sit and bomb the Conqueror into oblivion was because I dropped a fighter there. That requires the CV. If the Conqueror was closer to the Burgoyne or Stalin, then the FDR might have still had a way in because the FDR is a battering ram. But at the same time, the FDR is going to lose a lot of planes just to get a single strike, and then maybe live long enough to get a second strike, and then really just be gone because they're going to lose too many planes. But when the Conqueror peeled off, because naturally your thought is, ooh, I'm getting hurt, I'm going to run, I'm going to pull back. In a CV match, it depends on what that CV is. And the FDR is definitely the thing that can go all the way to the back of the map and just kind of live on top of you. And if you're in a big enough hit, big enough ship to get nailed by it, well, that's going to be pretty rough.